So I haven't read any of the comic books and I'm a casual viewer of the Marvel movies. I'm really enjoying the show WandaVision at the moment, so I thought it would be fun to find out a little bit more about Wanda. One of the interesting things in the show was when Agatha called Wanda Scarlet Witch. We as the viewer all know that Wanda is Scarlet Witch, and I thought that it was because it must have been mentioned at some point in the movies, but she actually hasn't been referenced by that name in any of the movies at all, and that name only appears in the end credits of the movies on merchandise, and we know of the comic books where Wanda Maximoff is Scarlet Witch. We'll get to the origin of the name in a minute, but there appears to be a specific reason for the term Scarlet Witch being deliberately left out, at least for now. The closest anyone has come to calling her Scarlet Witch was when Tony Stark referred to her as Witch in Age of Ultron. This is telling because it calls back to Wanda's past as an antagonist, and in a world where magic is a tool of heroes like Doctor Strange and superpowers are an everyday occurrence, there's no need to refer to Wanda in a way that makes her otherness knowingly scary. The connotations around Tony's use of the word witch are inherently negative and suit the idea of witches being branded as villains. Wanda remains humanized because she hasn't transcended into a villain. The article does go on to explain that she might want to claim that name for herself at some point. Wanda's origin story has been retconned a bit over the years, and we're still not sure if anything other than her childhood with her parents and her twin brother in Sokovia will be revealed, or if that's the extent of her childhood and backstory. I mention this because in one of the Avengers comics published in 1979, Scarlet Witch and Pietro, her twin brother, Quicksilver, discover that they're actually the biological children of Magneto of the X-Men, and that the Maximoffs in Sokovia were their adoptive parents. This ended up being a lie. Magneto was not their father, and Wanda learned that her mother was a woman named Natalia Maximoff, the original Scarlet Witch, and so Wanda inherited that title that had been passed down throughout the history of her family. The twins are important in both the X-Men comics and the Avengers comics, but they've recently had their origins retcon to kind of remove them from the X-Men universe of mutants and Magneto. Obviously, we already saw Quicksilver, Pietro in the X-Men movies, but Wanda has never appeared in the X-Men movies, even though she is really important in the X-Men comics. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the twins are also referred to as enhanced and not as mutants. There is a fan theory regarding one of the scenes in WandaVision, and everyone thinks it's some kind of Easter egg reference to Magneto, where you see a clip on the screen of a scene in WandaVision and a scene in the X-Men movies where both quote-unquote father and daughter are facing off with law enforcement, and basically they use their powers and gestures in the same way, and you can see the parallels between the two. So we're not sure if this means anything, if there's anything there, or if this is just a fan theory. So far we know that Wanda and her twin brother Pietro survived the explosion in their apartment building that killed both of their parents. And at this time, there was another missile that landed, but it didn't explode. And we learned later that this explosive has the Stark Industries logo emblazoned on the side. So Wanda and Pietro are trapped in this building for 2 days, and the explosive never actually goes off. It doesn't detonate. And Agatha suggests that Wanda used a probability hex to stop it from detonating, which is interesting because we've been told that the twins got their powers much later as adults and not as children. Well, according to the movies anyway. In the credits of the movie Captain America, this is where we first see the twins, Wanda and Pietro. They're introduced as test subjects in a Hydra facility, and she and Pietro survive the genetic experiments that are done on them using Loki's scepter. It's the Mind Stone in the scepter that supposedly brings out their abilities. An interesting aside is that there's this text in the Marvel Universe called the Wakanda Files, and it's compiled by Shuri of Black Panther, and she notes that the twins may have been predisposed to gaining powers from the Mind Stone thanks to genetic anomalies in Sokovian citizens. So it's possible that the presence of the Mind Stone just awakened these abilities. This still doesn't really explain whether or not Wanda was able to stop the explosive from detonating using powers, or if she had them at that point. So with their powers, both of the twins work with Ultron because the twins believe that Stark Industries are responsible for the death of her parents and the destruction of her town. Eventually, she and Pietro discover the true nature of Ultron's plans, and then they switch allegiances and fight against him, which then puts Wanda on the path to becoming an Avenger. In 2019, Disney, Marvel's parent company, purchased Fox, and so this allows X-Men characters to be integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which might give a bit more credence to the Twitter Magneto Easter egg. Before this, Marvel and Fox agreed to share custody of the twins, where Marvel could use Wanda and Pietro as long as they, don't make any references to Magneto or the world of mutants, and Fox could use them in the X-Men movies as long as they don't mention the Avengers. So about the Evan Peters appearance in WandaVision, Pietro is dead. He died in Avengers Age of Ultron. Agatha says as much, that his body is on another planet, it's riddled with holes, and she wasn't able to use it to spy on Wanda. So she used the fake Pietro, or Fietro, who happened to be Quicksilver from the X-Men. Of course, we can't predict which way the show is going to go, but this is all part of the fun. Anyway, that's it for this very short video. There's so much information to pass. I have added some links in the description for further reading. Thank you for watching.